Joining me now is Congressman Rick Crawford. He's the chair of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. Congressman, great to have you here. So Tulsi Gabbard says this report from the House Intelligence Committee way back in 2016 shows the most egregious weaponization and politicization of intelligence in American history. Is that what you see, sir, when you look at this declassified report?
Absolutely. And so I started looking at this report in 2017 when the investigation was initiated by then Chairman Devin Nunes. This is not new information to us. This is new information to the American people because it was just declassified and allowed to be shared with the American people. So that's why we're talking about this right now. But the reality is that if you take away President Trump's name and just say president, every American ought to be concerned about this. This is not about President Trump as much as it is about perpetrating a fraud against an American president at the expense of the American people. And so, by the way, Russia collusion, if Russia collusion is, in fact, a thing, if it actually happened, and by the way, Adam Schiff swore up and down that he had evidence throughout that entire period and never produced one bit of it. But if that were the case, is that treason? And if that's treason, does that carry the same weight because that charge is being leveled against President Trump as it would being leveled against President Obama? Take away the names and look at the underlying issues and see if you feel the same.
But what about the Senate report? The Senate Intelligence Committee spent an exhaustive amount of time investigating this. The committee was led by then Senator Marco Rubio, now Secretary of State. It said, in fact, Russia did try to influence the 2016 election.
So I have no doubt that the Russians tried to interfere in our elections. They do that all the time. They do it in places around the world because they're trying to have an impact on influence and how they can be relevant in a given country or how they might possibly shape outcomes that would benefit them. That's not news. The narrative was that President Trump was involved in that, and he wasn't, and the evidence clearly shows that. So I'm not a part of the Senate. I don't know what goes on over there, don't want to know what goes on over there. That's for them to explain.
Tulsi Gabbard says it was a lie that the Russian government helped Trump win the 2016 election.
Flat out is, because if in fact he was President Trump had been the favorite of President Putin, why did President Putin turn to page 17 on the report? Why did President Putin choose to withhold that information against Secretary Clinton? And the reason is because he wanted to hold that in hopes that they could use it after the election, because like everybody else in the media in the United States and the political punditry, they were convinced that Secretary Clinton was going to be President Clinton, and so Vladimir Putin held his damaging information in abeyance so he could damage her on the other side of the election. If he wanted to help President Trump, he had plenty of material to do it.
Right, but I guess what the House report found that the judgments made by the intelligence agencies in 2016 were sound, but that the work was rushed. A CIA analysis agrees with that. But the House report in 2017 didn't take issue.
No, the House report didn't state that.
What did it state then?
You're citing a CIA note that took place last month that said that the reporting was sound, but that there were possibly some issues. You look through that document that was just released this morning, and you can see that throughout there are questions about analytic integrity that are pervasive, and even Brennan acknowledged that that the Steele dossier, which was fundamental to this, was flawed. But he said, and look at the document, he said, but it rings true, so let's use it.
All right,
that
so
was deliberate.
To be clear, you're saying Russia did try to influence the 2016 election, but it didn't do it in collusion with President Trump, and it didn't do it to benefit President Trump?
What I'm saying is it's common for Russia to engage in malign influence, whether it's an election or anything else. They're engaged here in our country. But what I'm saying is take that as a side note. Did President Trump, was he involved in Russia collusion? And the answer is demonstrably no, he didn't. And if they had evidence, Adam Schiff would have brought it forward, and he never did.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.